trying to run the place. All right, let's call to order this Wednesday, February 16th, 2022, regular Newton Falls Council meeting to order. If anybody has any cell phones or other devices, if you could either turn them off or set them to vibrate. Go ahead and stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Short prayer. Precious Lord, dear God, we thank you for the opportunity, dear God, to represent you. We thank you for this community, the country that we find ourselves, dear Lord. We just pray that you are with us and guide and direct the meeting tonight. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, whenever Mrs. King is ready to call for the roll.
Granchi.
Here.
Stemper.
Yes.
Sirocco.
Here.
Bariak.
Here.
Spletzer.
Present.
Okay. We'll start off with the good stuff. Got a resolution here for the little taggers. We're going to see if somebody can make a motion for it.
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, we'll do things a little differently so we don't interrupt
I can't hear
them.
you, Kenny.
We're going to go ahead and call for the roll for the resolution before we present it. So,
Stemper.
Yes.
Sirocco.
Yes.
Bariak.
What's that, Kenny?
roll call for the resolution for the little taggers.
Oh, here, yes.
Spletzer.
Yes.
Granchi.
Yes.
Okay, let me go ahead and read it here. It says a resolution acknowledging the Newton Falls Little Tigers football team and congratulating them on their successful season. Whereas the Newton Falls Little Tigers football team consists of players ages 9 through 12 in grades 4th through 7th from our community. And whereas the Newton Falls Little Tigers had a winning season with a record of 9-2 overall and 7-1 in the regular season, and the team was undefeated in their division, whereas the team played in the Super Bowl championship game at Youngstown State University. And if I call your name, if you want to go ahead and step forward, and Mrs. King, I think, has a copy of the resolution for each individual. The 2021 team was coached by head coach Jared Claunch. Okay, and then just save your applauses for the end if you could, too. Assistant coaches Patrick Morgan, C.J. Shelton, Travis Higgins, and Dan Smith. And then just a little bit of extra information here under Coach Claunch. He coached for 9 years, 7 of it as the head coach with a record of 49-18, and they made it to the division championship each and every year, and they were 3-time division champions. The 2021 players are Bentley Allen, Bentley's here, Benjamin Mitchell, Drew Dunlap, Chase Claunch, Luke Rapsack, Alaric Howard, Landon Smith, Spencer Sabo, Cruz Marquette, Cade Morgan, Dylan Wright, Jacob McGregor, Dallas Dillon, Brady Smith, Braden Prout, Gavin Perry, Xander Brooks, Zane Shelton, Nick Wagner, Evan Jenkins, Tyler Davis, Caden Jenkins, Faison Davis, and Xander Fitzgibbon. Is that right? All right. I'm not real good with the names things, so feel free to correct me. Okay, supporting the team this year were the cheerleaders, Samantha Axiotis, Clara Callahan, is that how you pronounce it? Okay. Maya Esperson, Michaelin Haydett, Taryn Hilligus, Addison Irwin, Kinsley Kendall, Haley Morgan, Carly Murphy, Kaylin Nemeth, Alexandra Palin, and then Riley Roscoe. Okay, is that everybody? Okay. Whereas the cheerleaders head coach was
Wait.
Stephanie Irwin.
Cheerleader head coaches.
Yeah, cheerleaders head coach is Stephanie Irwin, and assistant coaches Belinda Hilligus and Rachel Murphy. Okay. Whereas the Newton Falls City Council would also like to congratulate the 2021 Newton Falls Little Tigers football team on their successful season, and also acknowledge and commend the support and dedication that the parents gave to them and the grandparents and all fans. The Council for the City of Newton Falls, the State of Ohio, hereby resolves Section 1, the Newton Falls City Council and Mayor hereby acknowledge the dedication and commitment of the Newton Falls Little Tigers 2021 football team, coaches, cheerleaders, parents, and commend them on their winning season and wish the team much success in the future. Passed in council this 16th day of February 2022, Mayor Klein. And I just wanted to thank the players, the cheerleaders, the parents, coaches, and everybody, and just say, well done, you represented Newton Falls, we're proud of you, and as we look around here, we know the future of Newton Falls is bright. Okay, where's Bob Copeland? Bob, you gotta put some positive tribute. Okay, and we'll be in the public comments part of the meeting, and this section is agenda items only. So give your name, your address in 3 minutes unless previously requested. We have 2 10-minute speakers tonight, and the first one is Mr. Richard Curley.
Richard Curlin, 611 North Canal Street, 1009 Woodbend. I first want to commend everybody. This was a great experience, this first taking care of our young people and commemorating and congratulating them for something they've done really tremendous for the community. I want to start out by giving a bravo to the entire city council. Last time it was brought up by Mr. Grancy, sponsored by Mr. Grancy, as to naming the committee for charter review, a special charter review. And then the entire city council voted yes, by which time that means that the committee shall convene. So I thought that was really tremendous. That was great. There's time for change, and sometimes there's not. As you all no doubt know, there are parts of the city charter that need to be corrected. There really are. I'm sure the committee is going to do the best they can. Any input from any citizens, anyone, or council, or anyone else is welcome. We are meeting this again on Monday at 6 p.m. Everyone is welcome. Now, I did want to say in regards to one of the things I noticed on the agenda was running the advertising for 45 days, and then there was another one running it for 90 days. My question would be, running it for 90 days. I know who the sponsors were. Are you folks aware of where we're running it right now? Ms. Stemper, do you know where we're running the ads, want ads? What do you think the expense would be for 90 days? I would think you'd want to know that. It was easy to obtain. We're running it in the Ohio Municipal League, the Ohio Municipal Attorney Association, the Ohio Association of Public Employees. We're running it in the Tribune. We're running it in the Vindicator and on our website. I don't understand how and why the process would be 90 days. I really don't. Anyone of this caliber that we're looking for, I would think, is not going to wait for 120 days because it'll take that long for the interviews and everything else. Now, of course, I don't know what kind of monies are being offered to these people. That's up to City Council. But it just, to me, doesn't seem to be good business sense. I know since October, we've been running an ad for a financial person, and there have been 0 that have applied. I'm sure that Newton Falls, the 4,557 people, are very excited to get things on a regular basis and not have this continually coming up. But I don't agree with the 90 days. It makes no good business sense to me. I just don't think that someone who's looking for a position is going to apply in 89 days. 45 days, it seems to me to be sufficient. In business, a lot of times, businesses have to constantly ask for employees. The fast food industry is constantly, in fact, they don't take it down. They just leave it up all the time. And I'm sure that's not the intentions of City Council, to constantly putting want ads in. So I would stand against that for 90 days. And again, congratulations for looking to the future and everyone voting unanimously for this Charter Review Committee.
Okay, the second 10-minute speaker we have is Mr. John Richards.
John Richards, First Ward, 212 Albert Street. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for your time and your attention. Ordinance 2022-01 should be removed from the agenda tonight because the first reading was held 2 days past the timeline set by the state for final approval or disapproval of this ordinance. It's important that I place emphasis on the fact that the people who are in favor of this are not enemies. As a matter of fact, I have high regard for the Commerce Association, Tom Colosimo, the President of the Association,
and all 4 of the liquor permit holders are held in respect. It is undeniable that FACES and AMVETS have each funded charitable work that benefits our community. I've enjoyed meals at both the Covered Bridge Inn and Mi Amigos, and all these businesses keep their storefronts clean and in good repair. So what's all the fuss about? It's certainly not about me believing that the other side of this issue is wicked. It's about differing points of view of what we should expect when we go downtown. It is that simple. To finish my remarks, it is my intention to offer a little logic and then finish with facts about the minor and major issues in Ordinance 2022-01. If we must have a DORA, then the decision to do so should not be by my speculation or the speculation of the sponsor of this ordinance, appointed 4th Ward Councilman Granchi. The appointed councilman says, according to his sources, it helps a ton, while the businessman I talked to said it helped a bit. What we have here is 2 sets of opinions, and admittedly, a ton of help is as difficult to quantify as is a bit of help. If in the future another attempt is made to institute a DORA zone, then 2 questions should be asked. 1 for each liquor permit holder. Do you intend to sell DORA cups? 2, to every downtown business. Do you want alcohol brought into your business? Then this information should be shared with the public at a public meeting. There are also 2 other factors that need attention regarding another attempt to establish a DORA zone. 1, a trial period to evaluate if the DORA is successful needs to be built into any future DORA ordinance. 2, there needs to be a measurable metric articulated to the public to justify making a significant cultural change to the atmosphere of our public sidewalks and the downtown business district. Is success measured by pleasing a few businesses? Is success to be defined by how many DORA cups are sold by the permit holders? The standard of success needs to be a metric that is understood by not only the businesses, but also by the community at large. And from this point on, my comments deal with the errors, large and small, found within Ordinance 2022-01. I have to apologize. I'm having difficulty breathing. Section 2, boundary map of the proposed DORA, states that Exhibit A is a map. It is not. It is an overhead photograph which does not depict any boundaries. ORC 4301.82B1 in part reads, a map or survey of the proposed outdoor refreshment area in sufficient detail to identify the boundaries of the area. Section 2, boundary map of the proposed DORA, lists the address ranges of West Broad Street from 8 to 115. That is Domino's Pizza at 8 West Broad to Pizza Hut and Handle Vision Center at 115 West Broad. Also in Section 3, nature and type of establishments, there is a list that includes Rite Aid at 325 West Broad Street, which is out of the boundaries of the DORA. Also in Section 3, McDonald's, 20 West Canal Street is on the list. West Canal Street does not exist. There are 2 Exhibit Bs. The one labeled Official Zoning Map of DORA has no boundary lines drawn. The second Exhibit B, labeled Newton Falls Plan Downtown Land Use, also has no boundary lines drawn. Another difference is that in Section 2, boundary map of the DORA, the boundary of the DORA is said to encompass 3.5 acres. Yet Exhibit E has a line that reads, DORA boundaries 4.8 acres. Section 6 states that the location and spacing of the boundary signs are shown in Exhibit E. There are 11 symbols, 7 brown and 4 green. Only the 4 green dots are within the DORA, as described in the range of addresses. Exhibit E also has no boundary lines on it anywhere. Exhibit E further states the city is proposing the installation of 18 signs shown in green. There are only 4 green dots. There are 7 brown trash can symbols in the exhibit. Beside a symbol of a brown trash can, the text reads, trash cans with proposed signs, 11. Following that, there's another symbol of a brown trash can without signage, 7. Another oddity is that the agenda packet available on the village website for January 19th on the opening page, and it's labeled Application to the City of Newton Falls Council, Downtown Newton Falls Designated Outdoor Refreshment Area. And this is dated October 4th, and it's printed in what appears to be ink at the bottom left side of the page. That same page, labeled for the February 16th agenda today, when you look at that, the written date isn't there. This brings me to the timeline for council to approve or disapprove this ordinance. When the first reading was held on January 19th, 2022, this ordinance was already 2 days past when ORC 4301.82 states council shall have its final reading and approve or disapprove the ordinance. The timeline language offers no wiggle room. The language used is shall. In our case, we're concerned with the shall publish a notice within 45 days after the submitted date, October 4th, 2021. A notice was published on November 18th, 2021, which was 45 days from the submittal. There is another shall requirement. It states that no earlier than 30, but not later than 60 days after the initial publishing of the public meeting notice, council shall approve or disapprove of the DORA. The date 60 days from published notice on November 18th, 2021 is January 17th, 2022. Council had its first reading on this ordinance January 19th, 2022, 2 days past the cutoff date. This ordinance does not meet the requirement of ORC 4301.82 in major and minor ways and is ineligible to be voted upon. It should be removed from tonight's agenda. And lastly, I contacted the Liquor Control Agency and asked them if a new ordinance would require a new timeline, again of 45 to publish and 60 to approve or disapprove. I'm waiting on an answer to my inquiry. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, anybody else?
Katie Carl, 128 West Quarry. I also wanted to speak on the DORA, and I did some research myself after Mr. Richards spoke at the last meeting. I had some questions and concerns, and after council had discussed the DORA also. And my concerns, a lot of them are the same. And the boundaries, as stated, was 4.80 acres. I guess my question is too, I didn't know it was past the date, but I was checking with businesses in town and the ones that hold the liquor licenses. And well, there's only 4 of them, but 3 of them were never contacted. Well, he already took care of AMVETS, I didn't talk to them. But 2 Two of them were never contacted, two others were never contacted. And one of them said, no way, we're not doing this at all. Not at all. The other one said, no, no one contacted us. And the owner called me back and said, no. And why are you calling? And I said, I was just checking, and my concern was for you and your business. And I know what the liquor laws are because you've been so conscientious throughout the years. And I wondered if you had been contacted. They had not. They had heard rumors about the DORA, but no one came and talked to them. Which leads to my next issue. Who will be paying for all of these extra things? The extra things being the extra trash receptacles, the extra trash service, the street cleanup, the use of the street sweeping, the overtime, which since it's bar hours per se, the noon to 11 p.m. from Sunday through Thursday, the noon to 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday, that's overtime for our street department or cleanup, and the street sweepers or cleanup would be overtime. That's after hours. Is that even in the budget? Do we know? Was that put in the budget? Do you know? And I know you can't answer me. These are all just questions that I have. The extra trash cans that are noted in Veterans Park, our beautiful Veterans Park. Why? That's on the other side of the bridge. Why would we clutter up our beautiful Veterans Park with trash cans when that's not part of the DORA? I don't understand that. And why so far down on Broad Street, the other side, for the other bridge, when there's no businesses down there that are part of it?
Okay, Ms. Carl, your time is up, so you could finish up your point.
Okay, and who's paying for the signs, all the extra signs? Who's paying for the cups? Who's paying for the extra police when we're short on police anyways? Who's paying for the fire protection, EMS? Those are just some of the extra things I have. Thank you very much.
Adam Zimmerman, 515 LeMay Avenue. Let's start tonight by talking about unfinished business number 2, an ordinance removing the title of interim title from the law director. Last meeting, we heard that the reasons for this was respect. We are being led to believe that removing the title of interim will somehow gain our interim law director respect. Respect is earned. If the court cases are run the same way that he is running the show here for the city, it is clear why he's not getting the respect that he feels that he deserves while in court representing Newton Falls. We deserve better than that. We deserve better than someone that feels that title is the only thing keeping him from getting respect. We, the citizens of the city, are smarter than that. I hope everyone up there is also. Let's talk about new business number 4, a resolution approving the expenditure of funds in the amount of $88,483.25 for the months of November and December. Well, first of all, I'd like to point out that if we notice 2 things on the agenda tonight for the law director, and he couldn't bother to be here tonight to address these. So let that just kind of play into everyone's minds as we're going forward. This comes out to this is over $88,000 for 2.5 months. That is approximately $26,000 more than we paid Mr. Fritz for an entire year. This comes out to $442,416.25 for a little over 12 months. Again, compare this to the approximately $62,000 we paid Mr. Fritz. This is private jet money, folks. You'll most likely hear that this money is well-deserved because of the cleanup that's supposedly taking place. No wonder the city cannot afford decent insurance for our workers. Here are the itemized invoices from the law department. Has council been provided these? I would hope so, other than what was provided in the packet just check amounts that were supposed to go to the law department. These are the itemized invoices for October, November, and December. Some of the highlights. The interim law director was paid to read Facebook and review Facebook posts on more than one occasion. On 10/24, he recommended a charter review commission. Mr. Garanci brought this to the floor of council on November 1st. And minutes from that meeting clearly show that on November 1st, it passed 4-1, not unanimous, where I was the sole objector to having this commission formed. 12/6/21, a teleconference with Ms. Pretty regarding charter research regarding residency requirements, further opinions, resolutions, and contracts. This sounds like a personal issue for her, not something for the city. 12/7/21, discipline of planning and zoning board members, plural. We've heard about, in here, DORA research is mentioned, and meetings are mentioned several times. Last meeting, we were told our law director didn't know anything about the DORA, yet in here, he's billing for having meetings for DORA. Why is that if he knows nothing about it? Why is his initials next to them? The city is charged for his driving to and from council meetings. He comes from Akron. That's at least 45 minutes away. We are paying him an extra hour and a half at $165 an hour to drive here and back from council meetings. On 12/21,
Your time's up, Mr. Zimmerman.
give me a second to finish up here. There is an email to the interim city manager regarding leaks of documents and information. And finally, on 12/22, there's research in here regarding withholding payments from Mr. Lynch. That is stated in here. Again, folks, these are just some of the highlights from the invoices that I hope council will take the time to look through before passing this legislation. As it stands now, our interim law department will be laughing all the way to the bank. Thank you.
Good evening. Julie Lemon, 609 Ridge Road. I did want to speak about DORA. I'm still against it. I still think that it's borrowing trouble the community does not need, and there's a heck of a lot of liability with it. So I don't agree with it. I want to talk about the previous minutes that council is about to either approve or not approve. There's been a whole lot of talk about the Charter Commission tonight. And I wanted to remind everybody that the original charter, which was adopted in 1966, took effect in 1967. When that charter review board came, it had 10 people on it. Or actually it was every 10 years. Then it changed in 1993 to 5. There's precedence to change the time of how long in between the review boards. So Councilman Granchi actually making the motion, because that one was done by motion. Actually, no, that was done by resolution. That was 33-2021. It's not unheard of. There's actual precedence. But I wanted to remind everybody, because it has been said on social media, which I'm really starting not to like, but it's an illegal charter review board. It's not. How many of you sitting up there knew that 18 times between 2001 and 2005, between Article 2 and Article 12, there was amendments made to the charter? Not by resolution, not by ordinance, but 18 amendments in less than a 4-year period. Times change, technology changes, the world still goes round. I count it an honor to be part of the Charter Review Commission. There will be a public hearing in a few months, open to everybody. It's not just what people think council wants or the administration wants, it's for the people. This is the checks and balances of our community. And it's time everyone starts working together. And Mr. Zimmerman, since you put it on Facebook that it was illegal, why did you apply for it?
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if not, move on to the reports. And start off in Ward 1, Mr. Surratt, do you have anything to report?
Just briefly, I have had a few calls in reference to DORA, and that's just about all I've had the last couple of weeks. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Boriak, do you have anything to report for Ward 3 or Ward 2?
I had a resident over on Medley Street, had a backed up basement. I'd like to throw a kudo out to our water department. They came right over, tested the water. It was groundwater. The next morning he had the basement pumped out. One of our police officers, our chief, helped out. The fellow was very, very, very appreciative. I'm glad we are getting a sense of working together. I personally was happy to see it was a very quick turnaround, and the fellow was happy. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Spletzer, do you have anything for Ward 3?
Yes, I do. I was able to speak with Mr. Carson, the gentleman that is buying the old Pomida building. And since he wasn't able to come during the snowstorm, we have rescheduled, and we will be getting together on February 24th. And the other thing, other than that, I've had some calls about the sidewalks in town. I do have a constituent that is concerned about the sidewalks leading to the school and the safety of the children walking to school. And yesterday I communicated with the BCI the BCI investigator, and he was asking me questions about the background information I had investigated on the renovations of this building. And other than that, that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Granchi, do you have anything for the 4th Ward?
I do. As usual, I was doing lots of calls and emails this period between the last meeting and this one. But I wanted to also say, while we have the most viewership out watching right now, this month I'm donating my salary to the Montgomery Farm. I'm sure everyone's heard about that. They asked if I could give them a little bit of a shout out. They are struggling and they could use some help. They set up a fund at Huntington called the Newton Falls Montgomery Farm Fund. Donations can be made to that by anyone. Anything would help them. They're going through it right now, and it's always great to help our neighbor. So I'll be donating, and I hope that others will do the same.
Is that all you have, Mr. Granchi?
Yes.
Hey, thank you for mentioning that. I put that on Facebook. I'm glad that you remembered to mention that. Thank you. Mrs. Stempert, do you have anything at large?
I just received a few phone calls in regards to DORA. They were actually from business owners who had not been informed or were not aware of what that was all about. And then I had one about sidewalks as well. That's it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Housley, do you have anything at finance?
Sure, a few things. First of all, I would like the opportunity to address council regarding both resolution and ordinance number 8. I can talk about it now, but I think it would just make more sense to talk about it when you bring it up amongst yourself. I'll make some remarks on those two. In addition to that, we did close the month of January today. December is reconciled. December 21 obviously is reconciled, but I just received that reconciliation this week, and in that reconciliation, they found where there was a posting error, which overstated the general fund ending balance last year, which on that statement of cash position at the end of the year, it said the general fund ending balance was $384. The true ending balance is $268. It's $116,000 off. That's been fixed today. So when you see your January month end statement of cash position, if you look at the beginning cash balance, you'll notice that it won't agree with December, but it has been fixed. Also, the
just closing January today, or early tomorrow morning anyway. We're planning on doing a check run within 7 days, and it's our goal to do a check run every week to start to get the check runs done a little bit more timely. We do have a new part-time person in the finance department. It's been there for a few weeks now, and she's gonna help with that process, enable that process, I hope. And within the next 4 to 6 weeks, all the superintendents and department heads should be getting the month-end report really close to the month end. That's the way I'm used to doing it. That's the way I like to see it here. All vendors are paid. We've started the 2021 compilation. That's due to be submitted to the state auditor's office by the end of this month. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, there'll be a draft of that, at least in the state auditor's office, and I'm also required to publish notice on that. With that, I conclude my report.
Okay, do we have any questions, comments, or concerns for Mr. Housley? No? Okay. Mr. Barrick, would you like the floor?
I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Housley. We had a utility review board. The professional answer that was sent out was something that we haven't had in the past. We worked as best we could with the person. The person understood and the professional way that the thing was resolved and the way it was put down. It was, I have to say, we haven't had that done in the past. Thank you, Mr. Housley. I appreciate your professionalism.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Housley. Mr. Law Director, do you have anything to report?
I do. At this time, a complaint that was filed with the AG's office in regards to billing with the utilities has been resolved and dismissed. There was a complaint filed with the Civil Service Commission in regards to discrimination against Police Chief Fixler. That complaint has been dismissed as there was no probable cause for any discrimination. We were also made aware at the end of last week from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources of an issue that was occurring in 2020, that individuals were filling in the floodway at the Mahoning River. There was some informal discussions with the administration and the law department at that time about getting that issue corrected. Those matters stalled out in the end of 2020. Fast forward to January of 2021, the previous law department was advised the ODNR of the property owner renting dumpsters and waiting on documents to provide that to ODNR to clean up that issue. In April, there was some follow-up communication, April of 2021, some follow-up communication sent from ODNR, but no responses were made. We've been made aware of this issue and are looking at it to correct it and get the appropriate response and everything addressed with the EPA and ODNR. Also like to report on the DORA. There's been some review of that. That application was submitted in October of 2021. Council published notice of a public hearing on October 29th. Based on the revised code, that is the date that starts the clock for council's determination to either approve or disapprove of the DORA. Meaning that council needed to act on the DORA application by December 28th, 2021. So we are past that deadline on this application. We would advise council to go ahead, if you wish to pursue the DORA, to start a new application, go through the process again. When these applications are submitted to council, from whomever they're submitted to, if there are statutory deadlines in them, council needs to be made aware of them. or if they need help calculating those statutory guidelines, to contact us, and we will make sure that those statutory deadlines are notified so everybody's on board of when those guidelines need to be met and action needs to be taken. I will say some good news about this on the DORA is the DORA law is changing come March. So there's going to be some changes in there that I think may be beneficial to the community and the application. And nothing on this application has been submitted to the state yet. So there was no state approval on it. So we would recommend that council start the process over again as it relates to the DORA. And that would conclude my report at this time, as I will have more in executive session to update on pending litigation.
Any questions, comments, or concerns for the law director?
Yes, Mayor, may I have one?
Yes, Mr. Granchi.
Mr. Emmel, with the Charter Review Board, I understand that there was somebody who dropped out of it prior to everyone being sworn in. The charter says that we were supposed to appoint 7, now there are 6. Should we be looking into putting another person on there? Because that's what makes sense to me.
No, based on what has occurred in the past, you appointed those 7 members. You've done your job. There was at a previous Charter Review Commission, individuals dropped off of that commission at that time. No reappointments were made. So it would be appropriate to have the commission move forward with the members that it has.
Right, but from what I understand from the previous people who have dropped out, none of them formally resigned. They just stopped going to meetings. Would that change the legal ramifications of this? Or, because it's completely different if someone officially resigned as opposed to just stop showing up, because they were still on the board. If they just stopped showing up, this person is officially off of the board.
No, as I've stated, that council has done the appropriate appointment of the necessary members. If members come off at that time, the commission can move forward as it sits.
Okay, anything else?
I do have a question, and I don't know if you're aware of any of this, but we did receive communication from Mr. Schrader, and he also included communication that he received from Mr. Comstock, I believe is the gentleman's name, who's the representative for the fire district. It looks to me like they're trying to work out a mutually agreeable, I guess, some type of a contract going forward. You know, the fire board is a fire district and a separate entity. And now that they've passed the levy, I think that they need to look at the contribution that comes from the village and the contribution from the township, because now that they have their own funding source, they no longer need to, you know, be getting funds from the village or the township, because they should be sufficiently funded through that levy that just passed.
I was not made aware of that. We'll look into it and get you a response on that.
Thank you.
Mr. Baryak, did you have something? Mr. Baryak, did you want an address with him? Okay, anybody else? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and move forward, and I'll do the mayor's report. And again, I want to, you can't really tell by looking at the weather today, but we've had some extreme weather over the last couple of weeks. I want to again thank the street department for your efforts, your snow removal, and all that you've done. I've had phone conversations, emails, etc., with different residents, and I'm looking forward to the weeks to come when we have some good weather. I'd like to get back into door-to-door meetings with people to listen to you, to listen to your concerns, your suggestions, etc. So that's something I'm planning on getting back starting again end of March or whenever the weather permits. And I do want to ask the residents, because we don't know with this being Ohio what the weather's going to be like, but if we get more snow, I'd ask the residents to keep your sidewalks clear. That way that it's easy to pass through for other residents, for students, for the mailman, etc. And one thing I want to report here is I got to officiate 2 weddings in here. I want to thank, I don't know if it was Mrs. King or Mr. Stemper, whoever that set it up and helped out and stuff like that, but I appreciate it. And just want to say congratulations to the new Mr. and Mrs. Kren and the new Mr. and Mrs. Chapman, and that's all I have. Changes to tonight's agenda, I don't believe there's any. Approval of previous minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? If not, February 2nd, 2022, regular meeting minutes. Whenever Mrs. King wants to call for the roll.
Siratko?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Sletzer?
Yes.
Franchi?
Yes.
Stempert?
Yes.
Okay, minutes approved. Public hearings. Number 1 is ordinance 2022-07. Okay.
An ordinance removing the interim title from the law director.
Okay, do we have a motion? Or
Yes.
never mind. Do we have somebody who wants to speak on that?
Hey, Carl, 128 West Ford. I sent an email and made sure that all of council received that. And there are quite a few issues that, in regards to this, the interim title for the law director is very important because it is a interim or acting law director for a reason. And yes, we need continuity, we need stability and structure. But no offense to Mr. Immel, is it? Attorney Immel? This is no offense to you, sir. But if Attorney Schrader is not going to get familiar with our charter and with our laws, then there's no point in taking that interim title out. Because obviously, for him to sit there where Mr. Immel is, and to call our charter and our rules goofy, which is what he did at the last meeting, and nonsense, you can go back and listen to the meeting, and to cut down our city and our community, that's pretty offensive. That was offensive to me as a concerned citizen. That was very offensive. So to take away the interim title and to pay him more, and for $88,000 that you're going to pay, which was more than $27,000 more than what you paid the previous law director, that's offensive too, because that's taxpayer money. So pass the rest of the things for a new law director, a permanent law director and prosecutor, as you're supposed to, because the interim law director title, you take it away, that's wrong. Do what you need to do, please. Don't take that away, because we need stability in our community. Don't take that interim title away, please. Thank you.
Adam Zimmerman, 515 LeMay Avenue. Again, I'm going to touch on respect. We are being told that the only thing keeping the interim law director from getting respect is one word, 7 little letters, I-N-T-E-R-I-M, interim. The definition is noun, is the intervening time. As an adjective, in or for the intervening period, provisional or temporary. Examples would be an interim law director, interim city manager, interim police chief. You can see 2 of those couldn't be bothered to be here tonight. One of these words is given in the title, used to represent the bridging of a gap. The other is earned. Removing the title of interim makes it easier for someone to be slid into a full-term position rather quietly. Is this the real reason for the removal of the term interim? Perhaps. I ask that council reconsider removing the title to remind our law department that they are, in fact, interim. Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm not going to argue pro or con as far as the interim's concerned. What I objected to was saying that our law department didn't have any integrity. Have you talked to the judge at all? The answer is no, he hasn't. I don't believe the integrity has been lost at all. I believe that he has a lot of respect for the people doing what needs to be done right now. They have also done away with thousands and thousands of dollars that was paid useless, just useless. The other thing that everybody is very happy with, what is the truth? The truth can't be denied. The other thing that is the truth, in the past, the prosecutor worked for a day and a half. We now, if I'm not mistaken, we have 2 full days of prosecution. And believe me, that extra time makes a lot of difference. As far as interim, whatever's decided. But as far as how they're doing their job, the law director showed up the other day at the first meeting of the charter review. And he knew the charter. And he knew what, you weren't there. You didn't bother to come, it was an open meeting, please. But, well, you don't know it either, Mr. Zimmerman, you missed more time than any other.
Point of order.
But that's enough, you're right, I apologize for that. But he knew what he was doing, he had a complete list, he had everything available that we needed. And again, I apologize about the back and forth. And that's all, thank you.
I just want to know if council understands how silly it is that we're fighting over titles of interim. Who cares? It's silly. There are so many more things that need to be discussed than whether somebody is interim or not. It's time to move past the bickering and the snickering. It's time to get down to business. Can you guys please do that?
Anybody else?
Okay, if not, the public hearings are closed and we'll move on to unfinished business. Ordinance 2022-01.
An ordinance approving the creation of the designated outdoor refreshment area for the consumption of alcohol in specified public areas of downtown Newton Falls and enacting regulations therefore.
Okay, and on this here, I'd like to discuss with the law director. Should I pull this for being an illegal or inappropriate ordinance?
I'd ask that it be pulled, yes. It's well past the deadline. If it was a day or two, if there was any challenge to it in the courts may look favorable to it, but the fact that at this point we're months past the outlined deadline, it should be pulled.
Mayor, I'd like to pull my legislation from the table.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we pulled it from the table, so we don't really need to discuss it.
Pull it from the agenda.
Yeah, or pull it from the agenda. That's just us telling Mr. Boriak. And when the time comes, if somebody wants to sponsor legislation to reapply or whatever, then so be it. So that's...
Well, that's what I'd like to say, Mayor.
Okay.
It's fine.
I understand you're pulling it, sir. I want everyone in the town to know that I'm not anti-business. But there was so much, matter of fact, you sponsored it, didn't you, Mr. Granchi?
I did.
Who helped you with that? Did you write it all yourself?
Absolutely not.
Well, who helped you?
It was presented to me.
But who helped you? Did the zoning man do anything on that?
We're really not supposed to be doing this talking.
Well, wait a minute, why don't you answer the question?
No, well, it's not on the floor anyway, so.
Somebody helped you.
All right, let's move forward to item number 2
Always don't want to talk about when they...
Let's move forward to item number 2 on unfinished business. It's ordinance 2022-07.
An ordinance removing the interim title from the law director.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
You have the floor.
I'd just like to point out how unfazed I remain to be that I was called an appointed councilman, because that's what I am, like the interims. That's all.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Bryan?
The only thing I'd like to say is this. The man is saved. I'm not gonna I heard a lot of bashing tonight, but there's another side of that coin. We're not paying him a secretary, which is a lot of money. They are getting a lot of things done over there. The judge is happy. And if things would quiet down, I don't think we'd have it is quite a little bit of a bill for that, but we've had a lot going on. But there's also a clause in there that we can get out of it in 30 days. We don't have to pay severance. We don't have to pay hospitalization. We don't have to pay not PERs, like we did with our past law director. And also, if you want to really peel back the onion, there was a lot of ways there was other money being made. That's all I'll say about that. I'll direct that down the road to the law director.
Okay, anybody else want an address on this? Okay, the only thing I want to throw out there quickly is a lot of the comments that are made on this issue are like apples to oranges. First off, the interim law director is paid on an hourly rate. He turns in paperwork to us about what it was for the months. You know, the hours accrued were a little bit higher. You could have a month, I suppose, or a week where you have 2 or 3 hours. I mean, it's probably doubtful, but the fact of the matter is, like Mr. Boriak brought up, you remove the interim title for stability, but he's a little bit different than what we had before because of that reason of being hourly. To where if you're looking for somebody that is a full-time, I guess, or whatever, however you want to word it, there's not an obligation for us after 30 days. You know, so removing the interim title there is different than what we've had before. And what I was going to throw in there also is the monies that we're paying out now is completely to his firm. What we had before, there was different benefits, different other things such as that, and there was outside legal. And that's the thing that we're not looking at here. I'm trying to remember, what was the cost that we paid at outside legal last year? Was it $200,000?
$123,239.
Okay, and that's the thing that individuals don't look at. It's forgotten. When we were looking at recall election, we were looking at different things in-house and council that council wasn't even made aware of, that there were outside legal firms from Cleveland that were hired that we didn't know that were paid, that was on top of the law director. That hasn't taken place. So at this point here, we look at the $80,000, which is an expensive period, and it would be hoped that it would be brought down, but there isn't a $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 going to a law firm in Cleveland. So it's really, like I said, apples to oranges on that. And that's all I have. So, if nobody else,
I'd like to speak. I'm going off just what Mr. Schrader was able to give to us in last month's meeting. And again, he did mention that they were able to let a secretary go over at the court through attrition. She retired. So that's $16,000 in wages for an individual that chose to retire, and there's no longer OPERS contributions for that person. In 2021, there was $123,239 in outside legal fees paid to outside counsel. Something else that I like that they have done is in the past, the Trumbull County was paying Newton Falls, or actually they were paying Joe Fritz to cover the prosecution duties through the Newton Falls court for the township, and that $16,000 is no longer just going into Joe Fritz's pocket, it's coming into Newton Falls. They are getting rid of the law books that nobody is using, which is costing the city $1,000 a month. And there is a Westlaw, and that is $755 a month. And what I was able to come up with, this law firm is actually saving the city $21,673.99 a month, just on the changes that they've made in the short amount of time that they've been with us. They've been able to change some things around that were extremely beneficial to this community.
Okay, anything else? Okay, if not, whenever Mrs. King is ready, she can go ahead and call for the roll.
Bariak.
Yes.
Spletzer.
Yes.
Franchi.
No.
Stempert.
No.
Sirocco.
Yes.
Okay, it passes. Where we at here? Okay, new business number 1 is ordinance 2022-08.
An ordinance making appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the city of Newton Falls, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
You have the floor, Mr. Franchi.
Mr. Housley, could you explain this one a little bit more clearly so people understand what this is for?
Sure, thank you. I wanted the opportunity to address council on this. So, the way that the cost allocations work in a few departments, but specifically in this department will be all that I talk about here is the law department, a percentage of what gets charged to the other operations for the law department. Then it's initially charged to the general fund, but then when I close a month, prior to closing, I determine which portion of those actual costs that were charged to the general fund law department can, by council legislation, be shared with the utility funds. And then I allocate those amounts out. So, and I'm going to briefly discuss Resolution 2022-08 with this because they kind of are similar, in my opinion. It's the same dollar amount that's being addressed in both pieces of legislation. What ends up happening is within the general fund, I initially charged the full amount of $88,483,000 that you'll see in resolution number 8. And of that $88,000, $61,348 got allocated out to the utility funds. So what this legislation does by showing you the proposed increase in the general fund is simply making you aware that and it doesn't show you what that level of detail because the legal level of detail is other operations, but there's an account within other operation that's called professional services. And that's where I put initially the full $88,000. Law department, professional services, which rolls up into other operations. And then I allocate out $61,000 to the utility funds. So I needed to increase that professional services line item by an amount, well, the total other operations by an amount of $27,135. And what you don't see here that I will be bringing to you in the future because I don't, I had enough available appropriations currently in the utility funds only because it's set up for many other costs throughout the entire rest of the year. But I'm still going to have to increase it by the $61,348, which you will see in a future appropriation measure. And on this point, I'm listening to council discuss the savings. And I would suggest that you ask me to present a formal report. And I'm planning on doing that at the next council meeting. I'll put together a report that explains to you what last year's costs are and what I project this year's costs to be. But I'm not gonna include this 88,000 in that report because this 88,483, and the reason why it's in front of you here today, that's all related to 2021. And the reason why you didn't have it properly, well, I'm not gonna use the word properly, the reason why it wasn't appropriated for in 2021 was that we'd already approved the budget for 2022, and we'd already set the final budget for 2021, and I didn't get the bills until January. And it's because I could not have a purchase order properly set up prior to receipt of the invoices, nor a budget. That's why resolution number 7 has to be in front of you all tonight. It's not a reflection of Al. It's a reflection of my inability to have a purchase order dated prior to receipt and payment of those invoices. So this legislation's here in front of you. I just want to discuss the consequence of voting this down so that you see both sides of the coin. You always have a choice to vote yes or no. But if you don't approve this appropriation, I will be required to instruct Al that he's no longer been funded. And his services will have to cease until you determine on an amount that can be appropriated for him. And this, not just with this appropriation measure, but if you don't approve the purchase orders in resolution number 7, then essentially the message you're saying to me is we're not improving the encumbrance. And if I can't encumber it, I'm not going to pay him either. So that's the decision that you all have before you tonight. Yeah, I think Al's doing great work. There's no reflection of his work or his costs or whether or not he's saving us money or not. This is a budgetary issue and a timing issue only. That's what this legislation's about.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, just real quick. Did you mean number 4, not number 7 on the agenda?
No, resolution number 8. And I think
Okay, resolution 8. Okay.
And ordinance number 8, right? They're both
Yep.
number 8, resolution and ordinance?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes.
item number 4, resolution 8.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, anything else? Okay, if not, if Mrs. King could call for the roll.
Spitzer?
Yes.
Bianchi?
Yes.
Stemper?
Yes.
Sirocco?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes. Okay, passes. Okay, number 2 is ordinance 2022-09.
An ordinance authorizing the amendment of the zoning ordinance to insert 11.4702 as to definitions, section 6 as to animal services, and to insert section 6A as to a dog exercise area.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes. I sponsored this one. We've been working closely, myself and Nicole. She wants to bring a dog park into Newton Falls, but we don't have any zoning ordinances or anything like that to allow that to happen. This is not legislation for this dog park. It is for any dog park that is to be looked at for Newton Falls. There are safeguards in it, such as decibel levels, distance from residential areas, EPA regulations, everything you can think of. She was very thorough in her research and making sure that this could be successful. It was passed by the zoning board the last time I went to their meeting. So it's just on us to do our part now, and I would encourage everyone to vote for this one because I think there's no downside to this.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if no other discussion, whenever Mrs. King is ready to call for the roll.
Bianchi?
Yes.
Stemper?
Yes.
Sirocco?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Spitzer?
Yes.
Okay, passes. All right, number 3, resolution 06-2022 is a resolution authorizing all actions necessary to accept Northeastern Ohio Public Energy Council Energized Community Grant. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay, any discussion? Okay, if no discussion, whenever Mrs. King is ready to call for the roll.
Stempert,
Yes.
Sirocco,
Yes.
Bariak,
Yes.
Spitzer,
Yes.
Franchi.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes. Okay, and number 4 is Resolution 08-2022. It's a resolution approving the expenditure of funds in the amount of $88,483.25 for the months of November through December 2021 to Roderick Lenton Belfins. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, if no discussion, whenever Mrs. King is ready to call for the roll.
Sirocco,
Yes.
Bariak,
Yes.
Spitzer,
Yes.
Franchi.
Yes.
Stempert.
Yes.
Okay, passes. All right. Number 5 is a motion whether or not to request a hearing from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control for Dolgan Midwest LLC, Dollar General Store, number 21468. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I'd like to speak first on that, sir.
Mr. Boriak, you have the floor.
It's a general thing for the Dollar Generals to want to sell. This is just carry-out beer and a little wine. They have the Rite Aid over there. They have the West Side Smoke Shop. They have Shopco, and they'd like to have it. I know there seems like a lot of them there, but if that's what they want, it helps their business. I sponsored it. I'm not going to be the one. They're not going to get any of mine anyhow, but you know. But I can't see why, if a business wants it, we can't help them out.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if no other discussion, whenever Mrs. King is ready to call for the roll.
Bariak,
Yes.
Spitzer,
Yes.
Franchi.
Yes.
Stempert,
Yes.
Sirocco.
Yes.
Okay, passes. All right, number 6 is a motion to authorize the city manager to advertise for the positions of city manager, law director, finance director, and police chief for a period of 45 days. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
You have the floor.
Are we both pulling these pieces of legislation from the agenda? I know it was put in an email that Ms. Pretty is doing it on her own, so we don't need to direct her to advertise. So would it make sense to pull both this piece of legislation and the second, or the next one?
It's up to council. I mean, whoever the sponsor is, if you guys want to pull them and be done with it, it's fine with me.
I'd be willing to pull my legislation if Mr. Granchi and Mrs. Stempert would pull theirs. This was asked already.
Can I ask, I thought we had voted that we weren't going to go out for the police chief at this time because of litigation. And it's on here, so did that change?
Might as well.
I had responded back to those emails in that regard because we had voted not to move forward with the police chief at this time because there was the appeal of the litigation.
Yeah, that would be something there to discuss with law director outside. I don't think it really has to do with if we pull it. If we pull it, then we're not doing anything with it. You understand what I mean? If you pull it from the floor, then you're not authorizing or asking anything on number 6 or number 7.
I'd like to ask the law director a question.
Okay, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, can I ask the law director on that?
Go ahead.
In that regard, if there's pending litigation, are we wise to hold off on moving forward with advertising for police chief?
I mean, you can advertise. Whether or not you hire for that position, I think, is a different question. An advertisement for the position is always warranted. We've had the discussions about that litigation that's pending, so I think ultimately, if you want to advertise for it, you can. If you choose not to, or don't want it advertised at this time, you don't have to advertise for it.
I suppose on that, there's two ways that you look at it. We could still pull the two off of here, but would council talk to the city manager, the law director to say, hey, do you want to still look for application on it and not move forward with the interview process, or do you interview, or do you not do that if that's your wishes to?
Can I, real quick, Mr. Emmel, we're pulling it as far as our action here. We would not be pulling it as far as the administration or the administrative action being taken by the manager.
That's correct. I mean,
Okay, so if she's advertising or has already gone ahead, then we're just pulling it for us being involved in this at this point.
Correct, and if you didn't want that to be advertised, that's a discussion that could be had, and that advertisement would not need to be had then.
Yeah,
I would like to address.
Let Mr. Bariak ask. Mr. Bariak, did you have something?
Go ahead, and then I have a question is all. This is for the law director. I thought Mrs. Purdy was already advertising for 45 days. Is that correct, sir?
My understanding is the advertisements have already been placed. I know that we sent an email to council to determine as to whether or not you still wanted this legislation and these motions here. We did not have a response, so that's why they are still here.
Okay.
Is it legal for her, sir, the other question, is it legal for her if she doesn't want to advertise for the police chief, or how? I understand there's been some confusion on that, but I thought that we were going to go ahead and advertise and get it over with. All I kept hearing for the last 2 or 3 meetings, let's get rid of these interim people, let's hurry up and get somebody in here, let's start. Do you really think that people are going to wait 6 months that are looking for a job? I think that this amount of time is very generous, 45 days, and the cost alone ought to make some people think about how much we're going to spend. And then if we can't get in 45 days somebody that'll do this job, or I don't know, but I thought we were going to. I thought the gears were already in motion. So,
well, here's the
thing. I wanted to ask one more. Right. I asked the question first. If they'll pull their 90 days, I'll pull mine.
Well, the thought being, and I know what's going through Ms. Stempert's mind a little bit here.
You do?
I do the same thing with the volunteer lady out there. But I believe that we're looking at the administration is already started and doing the application process. The only question that you might have, and that would be something for you to contact the city manager, law director, is how you want to handle the police chief. If you want to not have it sent out for applications right now, or have it applied for and not interviewed, that would be the question for you to have with Ms. Pretty.
I did put that in an email when there was no response from it, so that's
okay.
That's why. I want to see where we're at with that.
But I believe that number 6 and 7, either way, we can pull those off and just have that question answered. I mean, is that?
This is why I would like to be heard. The city manager has already advertised for all 4 positions.
Okay.
And she did give me a rundown list of places that she had advertised. I know she put it in the Tribune, in the Vindicator, the Ohio Municipal League. There were some other trade association type entities. There's plenty of advertising out there already, and I believe that she was well within her right to do this as the administrator. And I didn't know if you guys were aware or not, but the advertising for just one day for the 4 positions in the Vindicator and the Tribune was $375 to $400. Mm-hmm. That's what it costs to advertise for one day in print like that. The ads have been running on the city webpage as well. So the advertising is out, and it's in different venues as well.
Well,
So as
here's-
far as I'm concerned, 6 and 7 can come off of the the agenda because it's already been done.
Yeah. Well, and the thought too is, in the meantime, if the applications are out there, we pull 6, we pull 7, and talk to the city manager of the steps. What do we have that's out there? Legally, what cases could we have an estimate of time? And where do we do the prevention at? Do we not interview? Do we interview and tell them that we'll weigh it? I mean, and that would be my suggestion, that we would have all of these conversation in an executive type. Mr. Barrier?
The only thing that I would say, just listening to this, why are we trying to micromanage something when it's being done? I don't understand why we're trying to micromanage it.
So between Mr. Bariak for number 6 and Mr. Granchi 7 and Mrs. Stempert 7, do you 3 want to pull both bits of legislation, and then we can get answers on the police chief?
I'm fine, but I have questions in executive session to address them.
Sure, that's my thought.
I'm also fine with that.
Okay, Mr. Bariak, they're going to pull number 7, and there is some questions that need answered in executive. Would you be willing to pull number 6? Okay, all right, so Mrs. King, if he's, number 6 and number 7 are both pulled, and that brings us to public comments, and it's open to non-agenda items. Give your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Curlin, 611 North Canal Street. That was well done, Mr. Granchi. Congratulations on that. That's looking forward. Everybody pulling something and getting the meeting going. I thought it was well done. I have a question concerning something we haven't talked about in a while. I had a conversation with someone in Trumbull County about it. It was Scott Street. If I'm not mistaken, we have a loan for $400,000 for Scott Street. Is that still, I mean, did we take the money for $400,000? I just wondered what we're going to do with the money. I mean, we took a loan out, I understood it, before changes were made up on council. I wouldn't expect anyone to be up to par on this, but I was just curious. That's a $400,000 loan just sitting out there. And from what I understand also, is it's up to city council whether or not they're going to give the rates lower than they have everyone else. So my question would be, what do we do with the money? Again, congratulations. Everybody rolled real good. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Adam Zimmerman, 515 LeMay Avenue. Just a few things we've learned about the past week that we haven't heard from council or any sources here in the city. On Saturday, we learned that the city of Newton Falls, okay, let's be clear here. By City of Newton Falls, we mean interim city manager Pam Pretty is appealing the decision of the Civil Service Commission for reinstating Mr. Matt Evans. She's appealing this in court. This is essentially the city suing itself. Why? Just because our interim city manager didn't like the decision of a panel of citizens that are put in place to handle issues such as this. This stands to be another colossal waste of our taxpayer
Point of order.
dollars.
You're making accusations again without knowing what's going on, sir. You're making accusations.
What accusation did I make?
You made it. You went against Mrs. Purdy and said the reason she's doing this. You don't know the reason. You don't know the reason. You gotta quit making these accusations, sir. Please.
We should not be addressing him. He should be addressing you.
Thank you. This stands to be another colossal waste of our taxpayer dollars and another revenue stream for our interim law department. Last week, Mark Stempert, zoning administrator, was quietly reduced to part-time. This comes a week and a half after Councilwoman Stempert didn't act in a way that some up on council wanted, and she was told so during that meeting. Coincidence? Maybe. We know that it's not a money issue since Mark's salary has already been approved for the year in the budget. Is there going to be another person slid into this as another part-time person? We also know that one of the many recommendations made by Mr. Schrader at the Charter Review Commission meeting is to review the qualifications for the zoning administrator. And he suggested changes be made to make it easier to hire someone with lesser qualifications than are already stated in the charter. Why is this being done? Also want to talk about why is the Charter Review Commission being held now? The charter states that the review can only be held every 5 years. The last review was 2018. This is 2022. 4 does not equal 5 no matter how you cut it. The charter does not give council the authority to call a special meeting of the commission. We, the people, needed to have someone on this commission to keep an eye on the legalities of what is being done. I hoped to be that person. Again, like I said, back in November, I was the only person to question the legality of forming this then. But the powers that be don't want to have the transparency that I was hoping to provide. Now, there is a vacancy on the committee due to the resignation of Mr. Werner Lang. That leaves 6 people on the committee. What happens if there's a tie? How does a tie get broken with 6 people wanting to vote on something? A 7th person breaks a tie. I would hope council would want to address that issue and put a 7th person on that committee. 3 individuals that are not on the committee each receive 2 votes to be on that committee. Council should choose from those 3. The interim law director went over about 20 changes that he would like to see made to the charter with the committee. I put in a public request, information request for that handout, and I have yet to receive it. I would hope that he would provide that so everyone here in the city can see all of the recommendations that he is providing. Thank you.
I would like to commend council, Julie Lemon, 609 Ridge Road. Like you guys don't know, but I would like to commend council. 7 times straight, you guys worked together, voted yes, agreed. That's been a long time coming. So I have to make the comment, see what happens when the nonsense stops. I would like to actually address something that I'm going to piggyback off Mr. Zimmerman. He brought up the zoning. I have a question. In fact, I called Kathy King about it today. The zoning administration was never in the 1966 charter, but somehow it's on there with an enactment date, no resolution, no ordinance, but 2 amendments, one almost 2 years to the day. One in November of '03, one in November of '05. So it's been added, no enactment date. So then I'm asking for, and I asked Ms. King to find out if, when it was put on, when was it added? I'm not going to get in the legalities of demotions, promotions, any of that. That's above my taxpayer grade here. But what I am going to say is that Mr. Zimmerman was at the meeting the entire time on Monday. And I will commend him because he is the only person from the public that showed up. But I will also say some of the items that Mr. Schrader gave us ended up on 21 News. If you want to know what is going on in the Charter Review Board, please, we're your board. We're for the people, and we're supposed to work together as a community. Please come out Mondays at 6 p.m. Eventually, there will be a huge public hearing. Maybe we could even discuss a town hall meeting. But I don't see how somebody could actually say it's illegal and then apply to be on it and then be completely sad that he's not.
Anybody else?
Katie Carl, 128 West Quarry. You gave some misinformation because it was given to you, so I'll just correct some information. It's not $16,000. And speaking to the county prosecutor, the misinformation you were given, you will be given a proposal by the county prosecutors after they speak with the Board of Commissioners. It will be presented to your, no longer acting after 30 days, no longer acting or interim law director, since you unfortunately passed that because of the misinformation you were given. It's not $16,000. I talked to the county prosecutors myself and got the information. That was a lie, misinformation, okay? It's determined by the Board of Commissioners, the county commissioners. The small fee that is given, it was never $16,000. It will not be $16,000. And they have a statutory, I can't say the word, obligation to take and prosecute the felonies that municipalities have, and that is why they give the small stipend and take care of them. So they give that small fee for doing it. And so far, 2 have been given over to the county, but they have not given the proposal back yet to the prosecutor or the law director. And as soon as they do, then it will be presented to council, and council has to vote on it, and then it has to be given back to the county once it is approved by council. But your acting law director of the moment has to give it to you and present it to you first, unless another charter law is going to be broken and he just decides to do it himself. I don't know, because if in fact the charter is known, then that's deliberately breaking law by not presenting it to you if the charter's known, as has been said and stated here tonight, that the charter is known. So I don't know what else to make of that if the charter's known. Question for the new hires that are coming in. Are they given civil service tests? Civil service tests. I've had teeth pulled, so I beg your pardon. Civil service tests, are we following that proper procedure and process with the police department, with any new hires in the finance and utility departments? Is that being done properly? And why are we going after committees, I guess is my question. These are people that are volunteering and giving their time. I don't understand why we're going after the committees.
Okay, your time's up.
Thank you very much.
Chelsea Harper, 128 West Corey. Okay, so the Charter Commission Review Board, A, why does it have to be done so early? B, why did it take an outsider that's not from Newton Falls to come say that our charter is crap? And those of us who have lived here forever have dealt with that charter and know how to read the charter. If you don't know how to read it, of course it's going to sound like crap. If things are contradictory, then why were they not caught before? Why did the Board of Elections allow it to pass? Why did the people who actually have the legislative knowledge to put it through, put it through? Why did that happen? And we're a charter city for a reason, or village, whatever. Since we've been that way forever, what they're looking to change is not what goes on in a charter city. And it's nothing against you, Mayor Klein. But the mayor has always just been a figurehead in this city, and the city manager runs the city. And for the people that are sitting up there on council, what you guys make per month is because you guys are here twice a month. And because you guys chose to put your names on a ballot doesn't mean that they should give you a raise. I'm sorry. You're not running the United States of America. It's not that I don't think that you guys deserve it, because some of you do. I'm not saying that you don't. And then next, Mark Stimpert has probably got to be one of the best zoning inspectors. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it drives me crazy. But he does a good job. And to do that quietly without putting something on the floor seems a little bit fishy. I mean, not only that, but when he got hired, he signed a contract. If you find that contract to be illegal, I'm not sure whether he was one of the ones that everybody's repealing or not. But what about Brett Godfrey? He was full-time, was he not? Or was there like a discrepancy there where we all got upset about Mark Stempert being full-time and we were assured that we needed this full-time position? I'm pretty sure there was like this argument that happened then too. So why drop him down? And why not let the public hear about it? He does a good job. Let the man do his job. And if you're going to look at qualifications for planning and zoning, don't you think you should look at qualifications that are required for all of the jobs sitting up there? Next. I don't understand why we're appealing what the Civil Service Board decided to vote. Maybe you guys could enlighten us? Because all we keep hearing is you don't understand, you don't understand. Well, we can't understand unless you explain. It's like basic kindergarten stuff. You have to explain why you have to do it or what you had to do it for, and then we'll understand. But we're going to keep complaining until you explain. Yeah. The new law director, why does he get to suggest changes to the charter? I thought that's why we had a review board. The review board is supposed to read the charter, understand the charter, and make the changes to the charter. Correct? The law director doesn't live here. He hasn't been around for a long time. I don't know if maybe we could ask some of the people who have, or some of the people who had something to do with the previous charter, but maybe we could all hear about it. Because I'm not sure where the changes exactly came from, and if they're only coming from him, why did we make a board? Thanks.
Anybody else?
Dave Hansen, 20 South Canal Street. I want to concur with John Richards about the DORA. I think it's a waste of time, effort, money, and it's not going to bring anything into the city. We need to get out and solicit for grants, see what the state has to offer, what the federal government has to offer. We've wasted far too much time with this. The results of this are going to be negligible. We don't know what we're going to bring in. As a property owner, we don't need it. We need to get those sidewalks fixed uptown. They're all busted up. We need a zoning inspector that's going to control the people running around with cameras harassing the contractors who are here to repair those sidewalks. That's the first thing we need to address. The next thing is the $88,000. $88,000 in 2 months. 3 months ago, this city was broke. We had no money. It was all over the Warren Tribune, all over the cable news networks. And now we have money to buy police cars, $100,000 backhoe, raises. We're broke. You people you're shouting poverty, and you're saying, I need a raise. This is what oligarchs do. This is like Putin. This is wrong. The taxpayers, the citizens, we need to come together. We need to stand up. We need to tell the council, this will not abide. Fritz was $60,000 a year. We're going to be at $350,000 for legal counsel. I don't care how many books you count or how much stuff's on the internet. It doesn't come up to $360,000. Do you think the people in this town are fools? Do you think that we're not looking at this and we're not comprehending? You couldn't run a business like this. I wouldn't buy this business if it was for sale. The books are all cooked up. Interim. When are we going to get people in here to run the city? That's the next thing. This interim business went on too long. You guys are not administrating your duties. You need to get with it. $400 a day for advertising, that's $3,000 to $4,000 a week, depending on how many newspapers you advertise in. You know, that's money you could be paying instead of cutting her salary, instead of cutting Stempert's salary.
Hanson, you have to wrap
Yeah.
up before your time's up.
Time is up. You know what? Absolutely right, Mayor. The time is up.
Anybody else?
Nicole Cutlip-Cozart, Falls Home Oil. I just want to thank you all for your votes in regards to the ordinance pertaining to the dog exercise area. It's definitely been some work in progress, and I think I've pestered Chris, once a week for the past several months about this, and I just want to thank you all for the first reading, the votes for the first reading, and I look forward to the second reading. And if you have any questions or comments specifically regarding the dog park, please reach out to me, and I'd love to talk about it. So, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if not, then we'll move into closing remarks. Mr. Sirotko, do you have anything?
No, I didn't.
Okay, Mr. Bariak?
I heard a lot of talk about respect here tonight. I do agree. I do agree that you have to earn respect. I feel that everybody up here that got elected has a degree of success, because my respect doesn't come from somebody, or neither should the rest of these people, from somebody that wants to say something. It comes from the voter. And the voter spoke, and the voter, what can I say? Are 75% of the voters wrong? In my case, I got 78% that said they wanted me here. They're all I care about right now. Now, to finish it up, I want to tell people, do you know that even a broke clock is right twice a day? You can't be wrong all the time. Man, I get so tired of these sour grapes. The law department, we've walked into a situation here that a lot of things weren't done. But now I feel that if we're going to try to get them straightened out as quick as we can, if it comes a time when we can't afford the law firm, Mr. Schrader said right here on the council floor, get rid of me. He said if you can't afford me, he'll step down. He's not going to fight us. The progress we're making, I think you can see the progress we're making, and we're trying to move the village forward. And I hope that we can keep on going the way we're going. What I thought about the DORA tonight, I couldn't support it either. I couldn't support it. I'm glad it got pulled. But in defense of the business people, I would be glad to listen if it would be brought back, and it's something that I thought was feasible or workable. If not, that's the only way. I don't want to close out everything. I would be glad to listen. I'm only one vote. All right, thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Bledsoe.
Yes, Mayor. The only thing I want to mention is that on February 22nd, which is Tuesday, will be the next Park and Rec meeting. And on the 24th, the Economic Development Team and the City Manager and myself will be meeting with Mr. Carson at the new Pomida building. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Granchi?
Yes, I just wanted to touch one more time on the charity for the Montgomery family. Again, it's the Newton Falls Montgomery Farm Fund at Huntington. As I said, I'm donating. I hope plenty of other people do, because it's an unprecedented time for them, and I'd really like to see our community come together to help them out.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Stemper?
I don't have anything at this time. I don't have anything at this time.
I
Sorry.
you had a whole list.
Oh, no. That's for executive session.
But I just wanted to close up by, first off, thanking the little taggers and their families and stuff. That was nice that they come in here and they support. You know, I was worried and hoping that there was more than 3 or 4 of them that come. I didn't realize that they were going to just fill the place, but wanted to thank council. You know, nice discussion. You know, we did it with in a proper tone and you know, let each other speak and stuff. Thank everybody for your work that you do. Thank individuals here in the community for coming and bringing your suggestions, your comments, and your concerns. One thing that I wanted to touch on a little bit is I had a boss a long time ago. He was the manager in the warehouse, so I was his assistant. He said, you know, once we're satisfied as a warehouse, we're through. You know, and I tell my kids the same thing in sports. I said, once you're satisfied as a basketball player, our team is through. You know, there's a certain way that we've done things here for a long time. Some of the things wrong, some of the things okay, but you have to continue to move forward to improve upon the process, and that's why individuals are doing some of the things they're doing with the charter. That's why we look at different ordinances. We look at financial things that we want to continue to improve on this community. This is a great community. I've said it so many times before. I would rather call nowhere home. You know, I would rather have no place else for my children, my grandchildren, friends, places that I go, and politics. I go all over the place. I'm going to meet the governor, you know, coming up next week. You know, I like to tell him, I said, you need to come over here and have the best burger in the state of Ohio. That's right here in Newton Falls. You know, you want a great pizza establishment, you come here. You know, I'll bring him here. I'll bring congressmen here. I go to Big D sometimes. I go to the Covered Bridge, and I bring Supreme Court justices in there because I'm proud of my community. This is an awesome community, a great place to live, and it's a great place to have new businesses. And that's what I'm looking for coming up, to stop tearing down, stop fighting, stop bickering over little things, and continue to grow our community. And that's all I have to say. Do we have a motion to go into executive session for number 1, personal matters, number 2, or discipline, promotion, demotion, number 3, pending of imminent court action? I believe I got everything there. Do we have a motion? Second. Do we have a second?
Second.
We got a second, a third, fourth, fifth. Okay.
Spitzer? Yes. Franchi? Yes. Stemper? Yes. Sirocco? Yes. Terrio?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll,
Mayor, I'd just like to let everybody know, we probably will not be taking action when we come back. Mr. Sirocco and I need to share some information with our fellow colleagues. We will not be taking action.
okay, so that's your answer, Bob.
You need my second.